It's invisible to the human eye. You couldn't see it if it were 3 inches in front of your face. In fact, it's so tiny, you could fit it on the head of a pin 10,000 times over. And yet this microscopic device is so powerful and so insanely valuable, it sparked a bitter patent battle, with the winning side positioned to dominate the U.S. medical markets for decades to come, and reap a projected $97 billion in royalties and licensing fees. Over $20 million has already been spent on lawyers, with both sides hiring the most aggressive and cutthroat litigators on the planet. I'm telling you, it's winner take all, and the stakes could not be higher. But time is of the essence. A major announcement is expected, and in the next 18 months, this remarkable device will likely disrupt every aspect of the $3 trillion healthcare industry, forever changing the way we think about doctors, disease, infections, medicine, surgery, oncology, prescription drugs, and even human longevity. In the process, it can make a handful of people very, very rich. Millionaire status? You might want to start thinking bigger, much bigger. You see, this device marks a quantum leap advancement on a revolutionary technology, one that's taking medicine, science, and Wall Street by storm. Already, some of the most influential tech legends of our generation are climbing over each other for a piece of the action. For example, Bill Gates has already doubled down in a big way, investing $75 million of his own money in this technology. And the billionaire geniuses from Google are piling in as well. And some of Wall Street's savviest players have been frantically increasing their holdings 1,000%, 1,300%, even 2,000%. Nobody wants to miss out on this historic breakthrough, and the reason is simple. This microscopic device conducts a feat of biomolecular mastery that is almost magical. In fact, it works on a cellular level and could completely erase disease from the human body, quickly, precisely, and permanently. Now, notice I didn't say cure disease. That's because this device goes far beyond a cure. It literally erases disease, just about any disease, at the cellular level. When this device is through, it's as if the disease never existed in the first place. This device is so extraordinary, MIT Technology Review says it could replace antibiotics, a $45 billion global industry. And that's just for starters. You see, a like technology has already been used to defeat cancer. In fact, it's taken dying cancer patients literally on death's doorstep and placed them into total remission. Even in its infancy, this device erased HIV from human immune cells and reversed cellular mutations that cause blindness. In addition, it's being honed right now for the fight against Alzheimer's, heart disease, diabetes, sickle cell anemia, muscular dystrophy, and more. And here's the best part. This microscopic device works its molecular magic without dangerous drugs, risky surgery, or devastating chemotherapy. 1 minute the disease is there, and the next minute it's gone, vanished forever. Nobel Prize-winning scientist David Baltimore says we could be on the cusp of a new era in human history. National Geographic agrees, saying it places an entirely new kind of power in human hands. Bloomberg simply states that it is the discovery of the century that will change the world. As you'll see in just a moment, this fascinating device will touch your own life in a profound and very personal way. This tiny device is the brainchild of a Harvard molecular engineer who is now being hailed as the most transformative scientist of his generation. He has already been honored with a long list of prestigious awards. Experts believe a Nobel Prize is a foregone conclusion. And his financial reward could put him in the same league with Microsoft founder Bill Gates and Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg. In fact, this scientific genius has launched a new company to bring his invention to market, just like Gates and Zuckerberg did before him. Right now, this company is tiny, with a mere $6 million in revenues. But mark my words, they won't stay small for long. You see, on February 15, 2017, a federal court handed down a stunning decision that forever alters the healthcare hierarchy. This was one of the fiercest patent cases in history, with the winner seizing patent rights likely to be worth billions and billions of dollars. One of the nation's foremost patent experts called the case a monumental event for the world. And now the ground-shaking verdict is in. The inventor and his research organization triumphed and have assigned the primary patent license to the inventor's company. Please understand, this tiny $6 million company controls over 40 registered patents and has another 500 patents pending. In short, they are positioned to disrupt the entire $3 trillion healthcare industry and become one of the greatest growth stories of our lifetimes. Even if they leverage this massive patent portfolio to capture a fraction of this new market, they could see a 28,700% revenue surge in the next 18 months. And that's just the beginning. But as I said, time is of the essence. Institutions are already swarming, gobbling up roughly 80% of the available shares alongside insiders. And with Bill Gates and the billionaire geniuses at Google backing this company, this is a monster home run in the making. Already, a 3-day international summit has been held in Washington, D.C. to discuss the impact this technology could have on society. The event was attended by multiple Nobel Prize winners, as well as a who's who of scientific dignitaries from the United States, Canada, China, Germany, France, the UK, the Netherlands, Israel, India, and beyond. In addition, connections to every major scientific institution on the planet, including NIH, Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Institute, Harvard Medical School, MIT, Duke, Princeton, UCLA, and many more were present. I'm telling you, we've reached a tipping point, and there's no time to wait. In a moment, I'm going to roll out a short video and show you this device in action, doing things that, until recently, were completely unimaginable. Most importantly, I'll show you how to harness this life-changing opportunity and ride it as this company ignites for a potential 28,700% revenue surge, most transformative of all. In fact, go ahead and take the biggest life-changing innovations in the history of mankind, the printing press, antibiotics, the personal computer, the internet, the smartphone, put them all together and multiply by 10. That's the magnitude of this technology. Let me show you why. If you were a particularly conscientious student, you may remember molecules and cells from your high school biology class. And as you may recall, your body contains over 50 trillion cells. And inside each cell in your body is something called DNA. Yes, DNA, also known as the code of life. DNA is essentially the recipe that makes you unique. It determines everything about you, from your hair color to your eye color to how tall you are. Think of your DNA as a long strand of code made up of letters. And it's the same 4 letters, A, C, G, T, arranged in different sequences, repeated over and over again like this. Now, your DNA code is 3.2 billion letters long. This long string of DNA code is broken up into smaller sections like this. Each of these smaller colored sections are called genes, and it's your genes that actually determine your various traits. For example, one gene determines your hair color, another determines your eye color, another determines how tall you are, on and on. Add it all up and you've got about 20,000 genes in all. Scientists call this your genetic code. Again, it's contained in every single cell in your body and it determines all of your traits. Now, as I said, your genetic code is about 3.2 billion letters long. To put that in perspective, it would take a person typing nonstop for 16 years straight, no breaks of any kind, to type out your entire genetic code. Imagine sitting down and typing for 16 years straight. That's 3.2 billion keystrokes in a row with no breaks. Now then, do you think some errors might occur? You bet. Well, they occur in our bodies as well. Yes, our genetic code has glitches in it. These flaws can lead to all kinds of problems. Problems you are born with, problems that are not your fault, yet serious problems nonetheless. Let's take a look at another section of your code. This gene right here, the cholesterol gene. In this person, it reads ATAA, low cholesterol. But let's change one letter. Let's change ATAA into ATAG. One tiny change in a string of 3.2 billion letters, and now this person's cholesterol gene reads high cholesterol. That's not good. This person is going to struggle against high cholesterol levels for life. It's in his genes, as they say. It's the DNA he was born with. Now, let's take a look at another gene. This one is known as the obesity gene. It's also known as the fat gene. In this person, it reads TTG. That means low fat. You know the type, the person who, even at age 60, seems to eat everything in sight and still stays lean. But let's change one letter in the code from TTG to TTA. Suddenly, this person has the high fat gene. That means they are predisposed for life to carry extra body fat. They can run 5 miles a day. They can eat salad morning, noon, and night. They are still going to struggle with body weight. It's not their fault. It's in their genes, the luck of the draw. Of course, the problems can get much worse when it comes to the genes you're born with. Let's take a look at another gene. This one is the lung cancer gene. In this person, the lung cancer gene reads ATA-GCT, which means no cancer. That's good news. This person doesn't have cancer in his future. Sure, he might acquire cancer through his lifestyle, but from a genetic standpoint, he's in good shape. But what happens if you have a letter out of place? What if, in a code of 3.2 billion characters long, just one letter is off? That can mean big trouble. For example, what if instead of ATA-GCT, the cancer code reads ACA-GCT? One tiny change, one letter in a string of 3.2 billion letters, and this person, by the luck of the draw, has cancer. That's right, an infinitesimal DNA flaw. In short, flaws in the genetic code can create catastrophe. These are ticking time bombs a person is born with. They may not show up as a problem in childhood, but if you've got that cancer gene lurking inside every cell in your body, it could be a matter of time before it surfaces in the form of tumors. And when it comes to genetic diseases, cancer is only the tip of the iceberg. For example, a genetic glitch doubles your risk of heart attack. Think about that. You exercise, you eat right, you take blood pressure medicine and statins, and yet a tiny flaw in your genetic code could strike you down out of nowhere. According to the World Health Organization, there are over 10,000 diseases that come down to a single error occurring in your DNA. Make no mistake, at 3.2 billion letters long, your genes are loaded with the potential for devastating disease and health problems, including prostate cancer, breast cancer, leukemia, glaucoma, diabetes, Alzheimer's, heart disease, Parkinson's, high blood pressure, sickle cell anemia, muscular dystrophy, and many more. Think about that. In a code 3.2 billion letters long, even a single glitch can mean the difference between perfect health and a deadly disease. Of course, there are environmental issues and lifestyle choices that can cause diseases. But by and large, disease comes down to your genetic code. Now, for decades, top scientists have been searching for a way to correct genetic glitches. After all, if you could tweak a person's gene code and correct a glitch, you could effectively erase the corresponding disease. Think of it. Instead of treating cancer with brutal chemotherapy and radiation, you could simply tweak the cancer gene, and poof, the cancer would be erased, gone forever, as if it never existed in the first place. No need for chemo, no need for drugs, no need for radiation. Instead, it would vanish into thin air. Problem is, the genetic code is highly complex. In fact, it contains roughly 60 zettabytes of data. That's 60 followed by 21 zeros. To complicate things further, the genetic code is microscopic, smaller than microscopic. Remember, we're talking about a code 3.2 billion letters long, packed into the nucleus of a human cell. Anyway, tweaking the genetic code beyond simple cutting has been impossible until now. And a biomolecular engineer from Harvard University has developed a microscopic device that can edit the genetic code of any living organism. That includes humans, plants, cells, all life forms. Let me repeat that. This microscopic device can enter a cell, isolate specific genes, and permanently edit the gene's code. Think of a word processor on your computer. Editing a sentence or a single word. This gene editing device could do the same, editing a human's genetic code. changing cancer into no cancer in the blink of an eye. Now think about that. Think about the magnitude of this innovation. Suddenly, genes located on the 3.2 billion letter code can be sought out and changed quickly, precisely, and permanently. That's the beauty of this new technology. As you can imagine, this breakthrough has rocked the scientific community. In fact, it's generated the level of attention I look for in every single one of the opportunities I track for my research service. Just listen to what the experts are saying. A revolution has seized the scientific community, says a Harvard University publication. MIT Technology Review is calling it the biggest biotech discovery of the century, and Scientific American calls it a genetic gold rush. And with good reason. MIT Technology Review says this technology could replace antibiotics, a $45 billion industry, and gene editing technology has already been used to defeat cancer. For example, 2 young girls who were suffering from incurable leukemia are now in complete remission thanks to gene editing technology. Doctors had tried everything to save these 2 little girls, even chemotherapy and bone marrow transplants, but nothing worked. Funeral arrangements were being made when doctors decided to try gene editing as a last-ditch effort to save the girls. Not only did it work, but both girls have been cancer-free for 18 months. Let me spell that out for you. It defeated cancer, and it gets better. This microscopic device has been used to reverse mutations that cause blindness. It's been used to remove HIV from human immune cells. Plus, it's being utilized in the fight against Alzheimer's, heart disease, diabetes, and more. The incredible thing about this technology is it doesn't so much cure disease. Instead, it erases it. That's right, it erases the defective gene from the cell completely. 1 minute, the disease gene is lurking inside the cells, and the next minute, poof, it's gone, vanished, permanently, forever. It sounds like magic, but it's actually clinically proven science. And thanks to a February 2017 landmark decision by the U.S. Patent Office, a tiny $6 million company is on the brink of staggering upside potential. Jacob Shaw of the New York Law School and an expert on patent law said it was a knockout punch. One that's about to hand this tiny $6 million company vast revenue streams and a potential 28,700% windfall. With a major announcement expected, this tiny $6 million company could be poised for an epic surge. I'll show you why in a minute, but first, let me show you how this technology works. The foundation of this technology is actually a naturally occurring defense system found in single-cell organisms. These organisms are everywhere in nature, even inside your own body. Of course, they're so small you can't see or even notice them. In 1987, scientists discovered that these organisms had a very powerful system inside them, and basically, it was the organism's immunity system. In short, it protected the organism against dangerous viruses. Incredibly, the system was naturally programmed to recognize the DNA of invading viruses. Once it spotted the virus, it would hunt the virus down and clip its DNA. This effectively erased the virus. Over the years, scientists tried to harness these powers. In 2007, Danesco, the $13 billion Danish food conglomerate, even tested the system to protect its yogurt products from profit-busting bacteria. Finally, in 2012, over 35 years after its discovery, a Harvard molecular engineer figured out how to reprogram the system's natural search and clip mechanism. As you can imagine, it's a highly complex process. But when you boil it down, this Harvard genius's invention can do 3 critical things. Check out this video I retrieved from MIT so you can see for yourself. First, it can be programmed to seek out specific strands of gene code. For example, you can program it to seek out the high cholesterol gene or the fat gene or the cancer gene. Second, once it finds the targeted gene, it can clip out that specific section of the gene code. For example, once it finds the high cholesterol gene, it can clip it out, effectively erasing it and creating a blank space. Third, it can fill in the blank space with new code. Boom! You see that? Right there. No more high cholesterol. It's similar to a word processor that can find specific words in a document and then change them. Think about that for a moment. This device can be programmed to seek out specific genes located inside your cells. It can then erase the existing gene and replace it with a new gene. Let's take another look at the high cholesterol gene. A person born with a high cholesterol gene typically is going to go to his doctor and be told he needs to go on statin drugs to keep his cholesterol in check. Most people who start statins take them for the rest of their lives, and there are side effects and even studies showing that statins themselves can cause diabetes. So, that's really not ideal. But what if, instead of taking drugs, your doctor gives you a small injection that puts the microscopic gene editor into your system? The programmed device hunts down the high cholesterol gene, clips out high cholesterol, and replaces it with low cholesterol. And that's it. You've no longer got the high cholesterol gene. No drugs for life. A simple one-time procedure and you're good to go. It sounds impossible, but that's exactly where we're headed. And it's why geniuses like Bill Gates are flooding millions into this technology. Now, incredibly, this device can be programmed to hunt and fix multiple genes. So while your doctor is getting rid of your high cholesterol, he might as well track down the fat gene, right? And while your doc's tweaking your weight and your cholesterol, do you think it makes sense for him to take care of cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's, and any of the 10,000 plus gene-related diseases that could be lurking in your DNA? You're damn right it makes sense. The entire process could be quick, precise, and painless. Forget expensive drugs. Forget risky surgeries. Forget lengthy hospital stays. This microscopic device could make those a distant memory. I'm telling you, we are going to see medical miracles that would have been unimaginable just 3 years ago. I'm talking about the potential to erase thousands of gene-related diseases, including cancer, diabetes, heart disease, Alzheimer's, sickle cell anemia, muscular dystrophy, glaucoma, on and on and on. That's why this technology threatens to upend the entire $3 trillion healthcare industry. And at the center of it all, holding a critical license, sits a tiny $6 million company that's about to change the world. As I mentioned, I've been a senior advisor to 12 startups. I can tell you right now, success hinges on a quality leadership team. And that's one of the reasons I love this tiny $6 million company. Not only is the firm's founder the Harvard scientist I mentioned earlier, who is a virtual shoo-in for a Nobel Prize, but the entire team is, quite frankly, the most impressive group of people I've ever seen. I'm talking flat-out geniuses at every level. Nearly every one of these folks has PhDs from places like Harvard, Yale, and MIT, and all of them are world-class experts in their fields. The CEO was a 25-year industry veteran and a true superstar in the business. In fact, before taking the helm of the $6 million startup, she was the president of another startup that was acquired by Celgene for $350 million. In short, this tiny $6 million company has assembled a biotechnology dream team. And with 40 patents, as well as 500 patents pending, this tiny $6 million company has effectively seized a commanding position. Drug companies who want to use this device have already started to flow through this tiny $6 million company. The royalties could be worth billions of dollars, and the resulting products could be worth billions more. And today, I'd like to show you how to claim a piece of the action. I will also show you how I uncovered this opportunity and a host of other breakthroughs I've shared with readers of my research service. But for the moment, let's focus on the key areas this tiny company is specializing in right now. As you'll see, the growth from these niches could boost company revenues a whopping 28,700% in the next 18 months. Let me show you why, and let me start by asking you a personal question. If you could wave a magic wand and erase any disease from existence, what would it be? Again, that's a highly personal question, and there's really no right answer. The good news is this tiny $6 million company isn't just focusing on one disease. Their goal is to erase many of the most devastating diseases known to mankind. To start things off, they're aiming to erase blindness. As you may know, the eye drug market is massive. In fact, the the global ophthalmic drug market is expected to reach $21.6 billion by 2018. Remember, this technology has already been used to reverse mutations that cause blindness. And using this breakthrough gene editing technology, pharmaceutical companies will be able to create drugs that can do amazing things. Even if this tiny $6 million company uses its position to capture 5% of the market, it would be worth $1.1 billion. And it's already starting. In March, this tiny $6 million company struck a licensing deal with one of the biggest pharmaceutical companies in the world with $14 billion in revenues. This pharmaceutical giant already does $660 million in eye drugs. And they're so eager to harness the gene editing device, they agreed to pay a $90 million fee up front, just for the option to license this company's ocular programs. And get this, that's just for 5 applications. There are hundreds of different conditions that affect the eye, and the potential is mind-boggling. Again, if they were to capture 5% of the market, this tiny $6 million company could see an annual revenue flow of at least $1.1 billion. But of course, blindness is only the beginning. This tiny $6 million company is also looking to erase cancer from existence. Cancer is a horrible disease. My sister-in-law and my mother-in-law both survived it, but my grandmother was not as lucky. She passed away from a very pernicious and horrible form of pancreatic cancer, and I consider it the ultimate scourge on mankind. Now, cancer drugs are already a $100 billion a year business and growing. Unfortunately, while many of these drugs are lifesavers, they also come with some devastating side effects, including hair loss, blistering, and nausea. That's why pharmaceutical companies are so excited to add this gene editing technology to their offerings. In fact, one of the fastest growing pharmaceutical companies in the world, an immunotherapy company based in Seattle, has signed a deal with this tiny $6 million company. How lucrative is this deal? Well, this pharmaceutical titan paid $22 million up front. But that's just a taste. This $6 million company could also receive up to $690 million in fees over the next 5 years. In addition, they're eligible to receive tiered royalties that could put the upfront fees to shame. And that's just for 3 programs. There are over 250 types of cancer and dozens of companies specializing in different treatments. Even if this tiny $6 million company grabs a mere 5% of the $100 billion cancer market, they'd be looking at a $5 billion a year revenue stream. And that's only going to grow and grow and grow. Now, before we go any further, let me just point out that between the eye drug market and the cancer drug market, this tiny $6 million company could lock in over $6.1 billion in annual revenue streams. And that's just if they capture 5% of each market. In the coming months and years, new licensing deals could give them a hand in every aspect of the projected $1.6 trillion pharmaceutical market. Of course, there's no way of knowing which niches this company will target or what the device will end up treating, but let's take a look at some of the possibilities. For example, earlier I showed you the high cholesterol gene. According to the CDC, over 73 million Americans have high cholesterol, and currently many of them take statin drugs. In fact, it's almost a $12.2 billion a year market. Even 5% of that could be another $600 million a year. And what about weight loss? Remember, I showed you the fat gene. Well, let me tell you, fighting the fat gene is big, big business. Weight loss and diet pills are expected to become a $220 billion a year global industry by 2022. Heck, even just 5% of that would be over $10 billion a year. The thing to understand is this gene editing technology could be utilized by big pharma companies in every sector of healthcare. Blood pressure, HIV, arthritis, hepatitis, muscular dystrophy, sickle cell anemia, Alzheimer's. I could go on and on and on. Point is, you want to fix the disease at its source, you gotta tweak the genes. That's why the big pharmaceutical giants have already been jumping all over gene editing technology. I'm talking about monster companies including Celgene, Merck, GlaxoSmithKline, Baxter, Novartis, AstraZeneca, Pfizer. Again, add it all up, and the pharmaceutical market is a $1.6 trillion a year business. Even if this tiny $6 million company grabs a mere 0.5% of the pharmaceutical market alone, let me repeat, 0.5% of the pharmaceutical market alone, they'd be hauling in roughly $8 billion a year. As incredible as that may sound, it's not off the charts for the pharmaceutical industry. I mean, Pfizer pulls in over 6 times that, $52 billion a year. So does Novartis, with $50 billion a year in revenues. In fact, $8 billion wouldn't even put you in the top 25 big pharma companies in the world. But here's the thing. This gene editing company is tiny, only $6 million in revenues. That means an $8 billion revenue stream would represent more than a 133,000% revenue surge. Astounding. It's like putting a fire hose in a water balloon. An absolute force of financial might that could send this tiny $6 million company soaring. How high could they go? Well, listen, before we get into full price projections, let me remind you, the $1.6 trillion pharmaceutical sector is only the first target of this tiny $6 million company. The very first step would be the biggest, most lucrative growth stories in the history of the world. You see, this technology has a wide range of applications that are poised to infiltrate every aspect of society, impacting our lives in so many different ways. And at this moment, research teams in 83 countries involving more than 30,000 labs and 100,000 scientists have committed themselves to finding new ways to use this technology. Laurie Garrett, a senior fellow for global health at the Council on Foreign Relations, says this breakthrough has touched off a frenzy that's affecting everything. At the center of the frenzy, holding a license to one critical device, sits the tiny $6 million company that's about to go absolutely vertical. This company is small, but that's about to change in a very big way. With 40 patents in place and another 500 patents pending, this tiny $6 million company is going to make a fortune. Remember, even if they only grab 0.1% of the pharmaceutical industry alone, that would be an $8 billion a year revenue stream, a 133,000% growth. And you can be sure the stock will follow. How high could it go? Well, listen, I'm a conservative guy. I like to underpromise and overdeliver. So let's pull back for a moment. Let's focus on the immediate future, the short-term opportunity. Experts project that the gene editing industry will hit $3.5 billion by 2019. While $3.5 billion is small in comparison to the $205 billion weight loss industry or the $100 billion cancer drug industry or the $3 trillion healthcare sector, you have to remember it's still in its infancy and likely to be dominated by a tiny $6 million company holding a critical license. Look, this company just won in a historic patent battle. And even if they use their 40 patents and 500 patents pending to grab half the market, or $1.75 billion, that would be a 28,700% revenue surge. Doable? Absolutely. Well, let's just say that'd be a good start. As you may know, cutting-edge technology can lead to monster gains. And when a company is able to utilize a patented device that opens up a whole new market, the winnings are bound to follow. Take what happened with Medtronic. They licensed the first implantable pacemaker. As you may know, pacemakers help people with irregular heart rhythms. True lifesavers, but original pacemakers were big and bulky. So big, in fact, that patients had to wear them externally, like a backpack. Not ideal. Medtronic changed everything when they produced a tiny pacemaker so small it could fit inside the patient. The result? Millions of people are able to live healthy, active lives. As you can imagine, Medtronic created fortunes for early investors. In fact, in December 2015, Medtronic stock hit $77.50 a share, meaning early investors would have captured a 140-fold win. Take a look at this chart. That's a 14,000% gain and good enough to turn $10,000 into $1.4 million in a single trade. Think about the commanding position a patent holder is in. Doctors, surgeons, patients, everyone wants the very best technology possible. It's often a matter of life and death. Consequently, when a new technology comes along and the inventor can use patents to block the competition, it can become a blockbuster virtually overnight. Folks who get in at the right time can become millionaires in a single trade. That's what happened with Summit Technologies. Summit was the first company to receive FDA approval for laser eye surgery back in 1995. You've probably heard of the procedure. It's called LASIK. Summit's innovation brought laser precision and 20/20 vision to millions of people. It changed everything and completely revolutionized eye care. With patents in hand, Summit delivered a massive financial windfall. Summit was launched with $3.5 million from seed investors. In May of 2000, Alcon Labs, a division of the Swiss conglomerate Nestle, swooped in and bought the company for nearly $893 million in cash. Folks who saw the potential early had a chance to see a staggering 255-fold win. That's 25,500%. Good enough to turn $10,000 into more than $2.5 million. Take a look at this chart. Amazing, isn't it? Point is, when you create an innovation that changes the way things are done and you can put patents in place to block the competition, you can expect untold riches. Just consider robotics pioneer Intuitive Surgical Incorporated. Their robotic surgery completely changed medicine. And because of patents, they dominated the market. Consequently, early investors could have been rewarded handsomely. In fact, Intuitive Surgical stock price bolted from $3 all the way to $561 a share in 2016. That's a 19,000% return. Good enough to turn $10,000 into $1.9 million. Amazing. Of course, these are rare and exceptional gains over long periods of time. They certainly don't happen every day. But let me just remind you, when a product comes along that changes the medical landscape and you throw patents into the mix, the returns can be astronomical. The tiny $6 million company I've been telling you about could be even bigger. Listen, as great as they were, companies like Intuitive, Medtronic, and Summit are essentially one-trick ponies. But the tiny $6 million company I'm recommending today is far bigger than a niche opportunity. Remember, they just won in a landmark patent verdict, and they are sitting on not one patent, not two patents, not three patents. They've got 40 of their own patents with another 500 more patents pending. They are positioned to absolutely dominate every aspect of the $3 trillion healthcare industry. With the gene editing business projected to hit $3.5 billion by 2019, this tiny $6 million company could see a staggering 28,700% revenue surge in the next 18 months. And that's if they capture only half of the gene editing market. Will the stock surge 28,700%, turning every $10,000 into $2.8 million? Look, I'm a conservative guy. I like to underpromise and overdeliver, and I don't want to overstate the potential here. So let's go ahead and just cut that down by a factor of 10. With that in mind, is a 2,800% return realistic? Not only is it realistic, it might actually be too conservative in gains. Now, again, there are no guarantees when it comes to investing. And because this is a small stock, it will be volatile and inherently more risky than a slow-moving, along with Wall Street's top players, including firms run by billionaire Andreas Halvorson and Vinod Khosla, the billionaire co-founder of Sun Microsystems. In fact, over 70 institutions just upped their stake, and not by just a little bit. BlackRock, Credit Suisse, and Bank of America have all increased their stake by over 100%. Citigroup boosted their position by over 1,400%. Barclays boosted their position by over 1,300%. And Wells Fargo boosted their position by over 2,000%. The big boys are swarming, and the time is now. Put these guys together with insiders, and nearly 80% of the shares are already spoken for. Point is, this is the opportunity of a lifetime, and you do not want to get locked out. In the coming days, a big tech fund like Fidelity could swoop in and take down the remaining shares in a single transaction. You can get in today, but you've got to move fast. I want to make sure you have the opportunity to be right there at the beginning. Upside potential may be the biggest I've ever seen. Look, this microscopic device can quickly, precisely, and permanently edit the genetic code of any living organism. That includes humans, plants, cells, all life forms. The ramifications are beyond comprehension. Already, gene editing technology has created a frenzy among big pharmaceuticals looking to get a piece of this. Companies like Pfizer, Baxter, Celgene, AstraZeneca, and more. But now that the monumental patent case for control of this breakthrough device has been decided, the floodgates are now open. A major announcement is expected, and in the next 18 months, this tiny company will likely disrupt every sector of the $3 trillion healthcare industry, forever changing the way we think about doctors, medicine, surgery, oncology, prescription drugs, aging, and even longevity. This device has already been used to reverse mutations that cause blindness. It's been used to remove HIV from human immune cells. Plus, it's being utilized in the fight against Alzheimer's, heart disease, diabetes, cancer, and more. The incredible thing about this technology is it doesn't so much cure disease. Instead, it erases it. Born with the lung cancer gene? No problem. You could erase it. Born with the fat gene? No problem. You could erase it. You've got high cholesterol? Erase it. Diabetes? Erase it. Alzheimer's? Erase it. This device could impact every disease that's gene-related, including diabetes, heart disease, cancer, Alzheimer's, on and on and on. Make no mistake, this tiny device could make things like surgery, vaccine, and even prescription drugs obsolete. And at the center of it all sits a tiny company holding a critical license. Remember, this tiny $6 million company already has 40 patents in place and 500 more patents pending. Royalties could be worth billions of dollars, and the resulting products could be worth billions more. Right now, this tiny company has $6 million in revenues. With the gene editing sector projected to grow to $3.5 billion by 2019, this company could see a 28,700% revenue surge in the next 18 months, and that's if they use their patents to capture less than half their market. Even if they capture 10% of the market, we could see a 5,733% surge. And you can bet the stock will tag right along with sales. Now, not only has this company passed my evaluation process with flying colors, I am recommending it to you with an urgent buy rating. Remember, patents that secure vital new markets can generate staggering fortunes. For example, Medtronic delivered 14,000%. Intuitive Surgical delivered 19,000%. Summit Technologies delivered 25,000%. This tiny $6 million company I'm tracking today could put those wins to shame. And momentum is growing at a dizzying clip. In fact, this stock could close out soon, leaving a lot of folks severely disappointed. A major announcement is expected, and already institutions have grabbed up nearly 80% of the available shares. In recent months, 70 institutions have increased their positions in this company. And let me repeat that. In recent months, 70 different institutions have increased their positions in this tiny company. Citigroup is so hungry for this, they boosted their position by over 1,400%. Barclays couldn't wait to increase their position by over 1,300%. And Wells Fargo pulled the trigger to the tune of a 2,000% position increase. Make no mistake, these guys know exactly what's about to happen. In the coming weeks, we'll likely see big hedge funds snap up the remaining shares, getting in before the announcement. You can own this tiny company today for a fraction of what it's really worth, but you must act now.